you, if I never said another coherent word this morning, we've had some great church up here. Absolutely. Let's prepare ourselves. Put your hand over your eyes. I have my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. Now over your ears. I have my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And now over your heart. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that you have perfect love inside of you. You have perfect love inside of you. No matter what you've ever done or what's ever been done to you, that perfect love that is inside of you has never been diminished. It's never deteriorated. You may have had to cover it up for some protection, but it's still there. It's all alive and well within you. The poets say that love is the very flame, nay, the fire of the universe. It's also the fire within each one of us. Ernest Holmes, our founder, puts it this way. He says, love points the way, and the law makes it possible. Love points the way, and the law makes it possible. Love drives everything you do. Everything you do that's successful, and everything that you do that's not successful in your life. Love points the way. Notice that I didn't say good or bad. Sometimes things happen to us that are good but don't make us happy. In this teaching, we say that everything we've ever done is good. Because even if it's something that we don't want to repeat again, it brought up for us a consequence that allowed us to see that we don't ever want to do again. In this church, we say that everything we do is in service to our soul's growth in our life. Every knucklehead thing you've ever done has grown your soul and gives you the opportunity to have an enlightened consciousness, a more up-leveled consciousness in your life. But we have to pay attention to the consequences in our life because that's where the gifts are. That's where the teaching is. That's where the change occurs, is in especially the often repeated consequences after another one after another. You know, you have 3 or 4 drunk driving arrests, you're going to pay a little bit of attention to that. You have 4 or 5 divorces, you're going to start paying attention to doing something differently. You have 5 or 6 bankruptcies in your life, you're going to start paying attention. Those are consequences that can begin to help us, give us a new path in our life. In this church, we are operating always on the notion that everybody is working with the very best consciousness they have at any given moment. And that includes your mother and your father. That includes your 5th grade teacher who belittled you in front of the whole entire class. That includes Republicans and Democrats. That includes white supremacists and anti-racism activists. Everybody is working with the very best consciousness that they have at any given moment. In this church, we say consciousness is cause. It's what's causing to happen next. Well, wait a minute, Reverend Georgia. First you say it's my heart that's driving everything in my life, and now you're saying it's my consciousness. Which is it? The answer to what drives you always is what's in your heart. What's in your heart is what drives you. Love points the way. The law makes it possible. What drives us is what drives us is our heart, but what allows for manifestation is in our head. So think of your heart as the hallway and your head as doors on each end of that hallway. In order for those doors to open and the love to come out, we have to have a different consciousness that we have when the doors are closed in our life. See, for instance, you might want to have a desire, a heart's desire to have more money in your life, to have extra money at the end of the month. So not every dime is committed to your life. That might be your heart's desire, but what your head is saying is that can't happen. And then your head will lay out all the reasons that that can't happen. So your heart's desire is pure. It wants more money. But your head is closing the door to the hallway in your life. See, I have my own reasons that I close the door about money, and my head stops. I want more money. I would like to be wealthier. But then my head says, well, you're a woman, and women don't have as much money as men do. You're a lesbian, and that could hold you back in your life. You're older, and that could hold you back. You had parents for whom frugality was the highest compliment that they could achieve. I studied social work instead of business. Those are all reasons my head can tell me that I can't have what my heart's desire is. It didn't diminish the heart's desire. It simply diminished my ability to make manifest that which I want. See, we're very careful here to pay attention to what's going on in our mind. In fact, it's our second principle. All thought is creative and influential. We believe that. And we take care about what's in our mind. We know that we have to start acting with an educated consciousness. An educated consciousness. Because we don't know what we don't know. And it's time for us to educate ourselves, and that's why you're here. To educate yourself in the ways of spiritual principle. So that we don't weaken our heart's desire. So we don't keep that door closed in our life. See, we say people of high consciousness are people who very often take the time to study, to go to classes, to read scripture, to become Taoists and go out into nature, because everything that's in scripture is also in nature, to learn the way that God operates, to learn how to keep that door open in our life. And then we use that educated consciousness to support our heart's desire so that it doesn't become derailed, so that it doesn't become derailed with lack and limitation thinking in our life. Here are a couple of ways of how we derail our life. Maybe in our heart's desire is to have a beloved. I want a beloved. That's my heart's desire. I start flirting with somebody else's beloved at the water cooler. That's derailment. My heart's desire might be to have great wealth. My derailment is when I start hoarding. My heart's desire might be to have great success in all of my affairs. I could begin to derail it by becoming jealous of other people's success and try and diminish their success in their life. My heart's desire is to have my children love me. A derailment is to teach our children that other people don't love them as much as we do in our life. The Hindus and Native Americans ask us to purify our heart. And what that means is to look inside of our heart and see what it is that might be covering up that pure love that is in there. One of the things that I think covers up our pure love is what I want to talk about today, and that's jealousy. See, jealousy, it's in all of our hearts. Maybe it's not in your heart, but it's in my heart. I work with it, I try and keep it at a minimum, but often it's stimulated at the oddest times. At times I don't even know it comes up, and all of a sudden I'm jealous of somebody else. And the activity of jealousy is I put other people out of my mind and my heart. I think primarily jealousy is one of the reasons that haters hate. Because we think others have something or somebody that we want, and then we start talking about them, or we start moving them farther away from us, instead of drawing the circle of our life bigger and bringing them into the circle. We think, we say things like, well, they didn't work as hard as I do, and they're getting farther ahead than I am. Or sometimes we can't put our finger quite on why it is that we don't like somebody, and so we start making things up when it's really jealousy. Or we start making things up when we start saying, like, he's too nice. Or her hair is awfully plastic. Those kinds of things. Or my favorite, because I actually have said it, and I hope I never say it again, but chances are I might, and that is, well, if I had that much money, I wouldn't be spending it that way. I wouldn't have bought one of those kinds of things. Here's a clue for us, and for myself especially. You only know how you're going to spend your money if you have it, And with that kind of attitude, you're pretty safe. We couch our criticisms in socially acceptable language, like we're better stewards of the resources, or we're not that wasteful. When actually what's happening is those people are making us uncomfortable because they're more successful in our mind, in our eyes. And we don't want to be around people who are more of anything than we are in our life. And then we start playing the fairness card. That card that says, it's not fair, I work as hard as they do. It's not fair, my kids study just as hard as their kids study. It's not fair, I'm always on a diet and I never look like her or him. So let me caution you about fairness. God is no respecter of persons. Comes straight from Scripture. God is no respecter. It rains messes and successes at the same time. It's how we receive them in our life. See, and frankly, I don't think all of us want to be fair. If we really looked at being fair, what was fair in this life, all of us in North America would have to give up, even the poorest of us in North America would have to give up a great deal to have global fairness in the world. I don't think all of us want that. See, I honestly don't believe that we have to have equal ownership, that we have to have equal wealth, that we have to have equal talent, that we have to have equal looks in our lives. You know, it's political season, and those of you who have been coming for a while know I have an affection for political talk. And I've heard myself more talking about the 1%ers lately, and the 99%ers, and the 99%ers are good, and the 1%ers are bad. And here is the problem with that thinking. The 1% and the 99% are a result of our combined consciousness. We caused that. Our consciousness caused the 1%ers and the 99%ers. So we can either whine or we can improve our mental state. See, my criticism about 1%ers is not about them being wealthy. It's about how they do their business practices. Are they paying their people a fair wage? Are they contributing enough taxes in order to make health care and other things, education necessary in this society? It's not about feeling entitled. It's not about wanting them to be poor. That would be jealousy. And jealousy is what we're talking about today, because here's what happens. When we're jealous, we put people away from us. We take beings of light and we put them out. We can't do that anymore in our lives. When we're jealous of another human being, we get mad at them. See, jealousy, we can't, we have all kinds of jealousy. And what we do is when we get mad at them, we put them out. We don't put them out so far that we don't watch what they're doing. So they get a new car, and then we get more jealous and we put them out farther. But then we hear their car got totaled. Oh, I hear your car got totaled. See, instead of looking at how they got their money, we push them outside. And the only way we can get them back is if they fail in their life. So, you know, oh, you had to buy a bigger swimsuit? Oh, I think I like you again. I feel better about my life all of a sudden. How insidious is that? How ridiculous is that for people who are committed to oneness? That people who are committed to showing and giving love and getting love. How ridiculous is that? But it's not only because we don't want to become the haters of the world, it's also that jealousy doesn't work. Jealousy is a heart issue. It's a heart issue, and it needs to be solved at the heart level, not at the level of conditions, not at the level of situations. It needs to be understood by becoming, having educated consciousness, spiritually educated consciousness in our life. Here's the thing, there's always going to be somebody, no matter how much you exceed in your life, no matter how high you get, you're always going to find somebody higher than you. And when we do that, that's when we start that terrible trip down of jealousy in our life. People who surface your jealousy, who point out your jealousy in your life, are part of the solution. They're not part of the problem, because they've just told you where you have a heart problem about yourself. It's a waste of time to figure out who to blame for not feeling good about our life. The trick is to start feeling good about our life. And here's some possible reasons we fall into jealousy in our life. The first thing is we think we want something, but our head tells us that we actually don't want it. See, some of us believe that if I could be rich and glamorous and have all the toys in the world, that my life would be easier. But when I think of that, my father's voice comes. My father hated rich people. He hated rich people. He talked terrible about rich people. And so when I see somebody who's glamorous, do I go to, oh, I want that. I want to figure out how to do that. No, I go, they're bad. They're rich. They're bad. It's a subtle thing. I've worked with it and worked with it, and I continue to work with it, and I will continue to work with it. But I bet some of you had parents who had that same message, that there's something wrong with rich people, that they're not kind, they're not nice, they don't share. If you have that thing, you got to work with that, because if what your true desire is to have more money, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for you, because the door to your hallway of your desire will be shut. Another one is we have to realize that jealousy is sometimes conditional. Jealousy happens with conditions. Because of the conditions are a certain way, we become jealous. It's nobody's fault. I grew up in an Italian Catholic family, and the role of women in Italian Catholic families is to get married and have children. That wasn't my role. That wasn't what I wanted to do. My sister got married and had children. So at every family function, I would feel and hear the praise heaped on my sister, who did the right cultural thing for my family's construct. And what did I do? I got mad at my sister. It wasn't her fault. She just did what she wanted to do, and it happened to fit into what the family wanted her to do. It's dangerous, because I've heard other stories in my counseling practice of people who are pushing their siblings away because they've achieved more and they're getting more praise from family members. Don't do it. It's a mistake. Your work, my work, is to find out what's unique about me and to begin giving myself praise in those areas that I feel like I've done something unique to me. And the last one I want to talk about, oh no, it's not the last one. Jealousy is also situational. It's situational. So, for instance, if you see somebody who has a job and you think, I want that job, I really want that job. But then you start thinking about it and you think, do I want to get up every day and go to that job and do that thing and wear those clothes and have to travel that far? Do I really want to do that? If you do, then you evoke the spiritually educated concept of mental equivalent. And you go and you find out more about that job and more about that person, and you find out how you can do it. But the object is not to get mad at them because they have it. And the last one I want to talk about is people with teenagers and grown children. I want to talk to you specifically, because I notice in my practice, both as a practitioner in Santa Rosa and here, I see a lot of parents who are feeling jealous of their cohorts, their friends, their people, their relatives, and their other people who have children their age, who are doing well. Their children are going to college, or they're entrepreneurs and doing well, while their own children are in rehab every 3 weeks, or doing something that's very painful for them. But here's the thing. We need to focus on our own children, not on being mad at our friends for having what we consider to be successful children. Remember the words of the great poet Khalil Gibran. who said our children are not our children. They are the sons and daughters of life itself. See, your children have their own soul's growth to be doing. They have their own path. And we need to honor that path. And we need to love them through that path. We don't accept poor behavior from them, but we keep the love channel going to them instead of focusing on being jealous about somebody else's kids. We focus on our own kids and how much we love them and how much we know they're going to make it through this tough time in our life. You have to, if you want to worry about your kids, and I do, worry about them. But don't let that stop you from loving them and honoring their path. Jealousy is a red herring. Jealousy is a red herring. It's a symptom of a heart problem. And if we could begin to work with it diligently, using spiritual, educated consciousness, using spiritual principles, the main one is there's enough for everybody. We don't have to be jealous of somebody else because there's enough of whatever it is for us ourselves. You know, it's so important that we know that we can't be everything for everybody in our life, but everybody can have everything. So it may not come from us, but we redirect people to where they can get the good that they want in their lives. But the most important thing is this. God thinks you're great right now. God thinks you're fabulous right now. So there's really no need to be jealous of anybody for anything. Let's take this message into prayer, knowing that there's only one power. It's that power of absolute love that runs through me. And if I can get my ego, my bloated nothingness out of the way, if I can get the idea of right and wrong, good and bad, out of the way, I can become the listener I want to be. I can experience the love I want to experience. I give thanks for this. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.